Welcome into one of our final episodes of the Coaches Show for this year. We're all about our spring sports. Our first up is going to be our softball segment. And joining me is our head softball coach, Meleah Howard. Coach, thanks for joining me as always.
Glad to be here.
And Coach, obviously we just wrapped up the region tournament this past weekend. Had a really successful time during the pod, had a little bit of a hiccup during the championship game, but we'll talk about the pod play first. You really came out and made a really strong statement, had an 8-0 win against Itawamba. Only took you 5 innings to take care of that one. You turned around the next day in the winner's bracket game, had a 6-3 win against Northwest, got out to a little bit of a big lead, kind of let them score some, but were able to close it out. And then in the pod championship, it was a 5-3 win against Northwest, a team that had to battle out of that loser's bracket, had to play a really good Northeast team, beat them twice during that as well too. And 5-3, it was only 5-3 because Noel Lesh probably made the play of the entire Region 23 tournament, if you have to ask me. Comes up firing on a single, throws out Ellie Fryer at home plate. That sent you to the championship. You know, gave you that third straight national tournament appearance. We know our seed. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Talk about how well the team played during the pod play. We'll briefly talk about the championship in a second, but just how well you thought the team played overall during the pod.
I thought we played lights out during our pod. Our pitchers did a really great job. Our hitters did a great job. Defense did a great job. So overall, very good. And I hope we can play like that when we go to the national tournament next week. But very exciting to watch. ICC, Northwest, 2 very good teams. And I'm just really proud of the girls.
Yeah, and you look at this one in the pod play. Emily got 2 of the starts, got wins there. You went to Taylor Efferson there for that championship. She pitched a really great game. I thought maybe you're going to have to go get her there right at the end. Didn't know if she was going to be able to finish it out, but she was top-notch pitching during the pod. And then you look at the championship game, and this is a game that, again, don't want to talk much about it. It's 11-9 loss. You had a big lead, 8-2. They scored 6 in the top of the 7th. You scored 1 there. That made it 11-9. But this is a game that I think as a coach, a lot of times you don't necessarily want to take a loss right there, but I think, as a coach, sometimes taking a loss at this point can wake up the team and make them realize, hey, good teams aren't going to just roll over for us. We got to go, and when we have an opportunity to finish, we've got to take it, and we didn't this time, and it really hurt us.
Yeah, I think we learned a lot from that game, especially going to the national tournament off of that game. We had won 16, right?
Yep.
16 in a row again. And, you don't want to get a little too, overconfident is the word going into the national tournament. And, we had our chance. We could have ruled them in 5. We didn't. We let them stick around, and we should have finished when we could have. But, a lot of learning from that game and those scenarios, and I think we're better because of it.
Right. So we've already closed the book on that. That happened this past Sunday. Moving forward, we already know where we're going to be next week. We're going over to Oxford, Alabama. Chocolaco Park is calling this 3rd straight appearance in the national tournament. The Wolves get the 5th seed. Maybe feel like you should have had that 4th seed, but it's the 5th seed no matter what. But here's the good news. 2 years ago when the Lady Wolves won it,
Correct.
Hey, we were the 5th seed.
Correct.
So you kind of look at it and go, well, we've been here before. We know what it takes. The good news is you play on Monday. You kind of go ahead and get a game under your belt. Maybe felt like last year having that day off before, maybe stalled some momentum, those kind of things. You're going to face a very tough opponent in Rock Valley. This is a team that a lot of people don't follow Division II softball, won't know that, hey, this is only their 2nd year in Division II. They've made the national tournament both years. Before that, they had won 8 straight Division III national championships, not just made it, but had won it that many times. And this is a team that last year, when we faced them, we were able to put them out in the national tournament. So they may come in with a little bit of an edge for that as well, too. What do we know about that team? I don't know that we know much about them, but, it's the next matchup on the schedule, and you've got to be ready to go on Monday at 3 p.m., and we're looking forward to that one.
Yeah, like you said, Rock Valley's good. We actually put them twice last year, once in the pre-conference season, early in the season last year, and beat them 7-5. And when we saw them again in the national tournament, we kind of knew what to expect, and we definitely knew they were not going to be an easy game. Obviously we hit the ball really well when we put them out of the national tournament last year, but I'm expecting them to be very similar to the team we saw last year. They're going to be gritty. They're going to hustle. They're going to make all the routine plays, but when you get to the national tournament, everybody's good. So you have to play your best ball, and I'm hoping that, although we're 43-5, I'm hoping that we come away with more wins and only have 5 losses when we end.
Yeah, you look at this, and you can't stress it enough, especially to the girls, especially the freshmen who haven't been there. You've got 9 sophomores who've been there. They had that little bit of a bitter taste of what it feels like to go out earlier than what you want. So they obviously want to get that taste out of their mouth, but you can't stress it enough. These are the 20 best teams in the nation.
Absolutely.
Not just 20 really good teams, not just 20 okay teams. These are the 20 best. 16 of them earned their way. 4 got at-larges, including Northwest Mississippi. So we know 3 Mississippi teams will be in it. So again, I don't think you can stress it enough that this field is very tough. It was tough the first year when we went. It was only 16, and they add 4 more, and that just makes it that much tougher.
Absolutely, but our girls are very hungry. They're very determined. The sophomores, they're sophomores this year. Last year, whenever we got put out and we finished 4th in the nation at the national tournament last year, a couple of the freshmen that are now sophomores looked at me and they said, "Coach Mel, we're going to bring us back. We'll be back." And I'm getting chill bumps right now thinking about it. But I told them the other day at practice, I said, I remembered that. I remember y'all telling me, "Coach Mel, we'll be back."
Yeah.
And, here we are. And this group of sophomores has led the team in an amazing way. And I'm very proud of them because they have been excellent leaders, excellent role models. They have pushed the team. And, the freshmen are going to follow what the sophomores do. And so that's been huge for us this year. And I know going into this tournament, our sophomores want it.
You really, if you talk to the sophomores, you also get that. I think if you spend 5 minutes with them, they're all like, "We want to win the national championship. We want to win the national championship." That's been their focus since day one, and it's been very nice to see. And that hunger, I think, has fueled them all season, as you mentioned. So, again, we look forward to it. We hope we're there from Saturday to next Saturday. We're playing all the way through. We're playing in that very last game, and we're bringing home a national championship as well too. So again, you got to look at it. And you go the last couple of years. Hey, a 5 seed has won it, and that was Co-Lin. A 9 seed has won it, who's now the number 1 seed in St. John's River. We may have to see them. We don't know. You never know how the bracket's going to play out, but it's a very tough side of the bracket. If you've taken a look at it, if you haven't, go check it out on the NJCAA website. But again, looking forward to it. Looking forward to that time. For a few more days with those sophomores before we ultimately, unfortunately, have to say goodbye. Eventually, that time will come, but it doesn't have to happen yet. So lots of good things happening for the Lady Wolves. Again, they go 3-1 in the Region 23 tournament, sweep through the pod, drop the championship game, and now they look forward to the national tournament. 3rd straight appearance for the Lady Wolves. They'll start it off on Monday, May 19th at 3 p.m. against Rock Valley. If you can get out there to Oxford, Alabama, tickets will be available on site only. If you can't, we'll give you all the streaming information. Again, we've already handed that out once. It is all available on the NJCAA network, but we'll let you know about all of that again before it all kicks off. Stick with us. After the break, we're going to wrap up the baseball season as they've completed their time in the region tournament. Coach Chamblee will join us and talk about that after this.
At Copiah Lincoln Community College, you'll find a family of instructors and staff who truly care about your success, and not to mention a really fun college experience too. Co-Lin was recently ranked number 1 in the state for student success. So whether you need to start or finish your college degree, take classes on one of our 3 campuses or online, Co-Lin is the place to be.
Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And as promised, our head baseball coach, Adam Chamblee, joins me now. Coach, thanks for coming on.
Yep, glad to be here.
And Coach, obviously, we talked about it before we cut to the break with our segment to Coach Howard. Season's done for the guys, unfortunately, but I don't think you feel upset about how well the guys played in their first region tournament in years. You kind of have to qualify that statement because before now you've always had those best of 3 play-in series. Wolves have gotten into those a couple of times, haven't been able to get over that hump. This year you got straight into the region tournament. Didn't even have to play in the play-in game because of how well you played against Meridian, swept them at the end of the year. But you look and you opened it up with a 13-6 win against Jones and had a really big lead in this one. I think gave up 4 runs in that 9th inning, 3 or 4 runs, and made it seem like it was a little bit closer than what it was. You stay in the winner's bracket. Unfortunately, you ran into a buzzsaw in Billingsley, and the East Central Warriors dropped that one 10-0 in 6. Rebounded, fought really hard in the game against Jones, won that one 8-5. Really started off with a big statement with a solo leadoff home run by Reese Thomas in that game. That really kind of set the tone, it felt like, in that one. And got a really good outing from Cameron Patterson in that one as well, too. Or I believe it was it Cohen? Nope. It was Jennings. My bad. I'm sorry.
Jennings, yeah.
We pitched them in reverse order because Cameron pitched against Jones the first time, pitched really well. Jennings or Co-Lin went out against East Central, got a little roughed up, and then Jennings pitched, and that one pitched. I think I told his dad, I said, if that's his last outing of the year, he's got nothing to hang his hat on. Got his 11th win, was tied in the conference lead, may still be tied. Haven't checked those a little bit. He's going to finish first, second, or third in wins for the league. And I think if I'd have told you that at the start of the year, you said, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But if I'd have told you that's going to be your ace for the staff, and he's going to get 11 wins. I don't know that you would have believed me just based on what we had. And then the last game, 13-9 loss against East Central. This was a game that feels a lot closer than that 4-run deficit says it was. They had a couple of big innings after you had a couple of big innings. Unfortunately, they just had just a little bit more than what your guys had. But I think overall, you'd say the fight, the grit, the determination your guys showed, they've got nothing to hang their hats on after this season. Yeah,
and that's pretty much what we told them. At the end of the last game, last meeting or whatever, was exactly that. The way that, just all the things we've been throughout the entire season, and everybody probably has their stories like that of, they had this. Everybody deals with adversity throughout baseball season because it's a long season, and you got injuries, and you got, you play good one day or you play good for a week, and the next week it's maybe not as good. So there's always ups and downs, but our guys battled through those throughout the entire year. Showed a ton of fight, which you see that just in the amount of games this year that we got down and battled back. I don't know how many of those we ended up winning, but there were a lot of games that we could have easily just been like, man, we're down by 8 or 10, and we could have packed it in, and we never did that. And it showed throughout the course of the year, especially towards the end. You talk about how we played against Meridian and earning the 6th seed, which is a really, that was something we talked about from the get-go. Hey, this is going to be really important to get in this double elimination and not put yourself in that single elimination game. So we had talked about it from the start of the season, probably even in the fall, So to do that was huge for us, and then to be able to take it down in the stretch in the regional and play really well. Man, I couldn't be more proud of them. It was a lot of fun. I think it gave our guys some experience. The freshmen to play in those postseason games that are really, really intense. And against, you look at those two teams, Jones and East Central. Those are your 4 postseason games. 2 programs that are in it every single year, so it was a lot of fun.
And Coach, you just mentioned it. I told people, I said, going into this regional, it felt a little bit winnable. You'd beaten everybody in that field except for Jones. And in a way, you kind of avenged the season sweep because you swept them. Not only did you sweep them at the region tournament, you eliminated them, ended their season. And again, you look at it and you go, we were in a regional final. We were a team who last year didn't even make the region, and to be one of the 2 left on our side of the pod shows that the program's headed in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though I know obviously we would have had to beat East Central twice, but I think the fact of just being, it's like we talked about, just being 1-0 versus a 1-0 East Central team in our side of the bracket or whatever at East Central, like it was an awesome atmosphere. So for one, props to them. I thought they did a really good job hosting, and it was good of an atmosphere as we've played in all year, which it should be that way. I would hope that we could do it that way if we had it here. But so it was a ton of fun, just an awesome opportunity, and once again, that's just another step forward for our program. And those are places that we want to be. Those are tournaments we want to host. To have those opportunities more in the future. But it's definitely a step in the right direction.
And you look at this one, and unfortunately, you had to say bye to a group of sophomores who were kind of some of the first ones that you really recruited. These are the kids the first time that you've spent 2 years this deep into a program building with them, and they're going to leave as one of the most successful sophomore classes in the history of Co-Lin baseball, especially recent history. They're leaving with 61 wins under their belt, a regional final to their credit. They went from in the play-in game last year to 6th in the conference this year, and you look at it, and again, it really feels like going forward, the sky's the limit. You sit and go, okay, we got 6 this year. Can we get to 4? Can we get to 2? Can we possibly win it? Because you also got to look at it and you go, 34 wins, that's great. But, you and I have talked about it privately several times, and I've talked with other people about it. This team easily, you can make a case this team probably could have pushed for 40 wins. Because if I tell you at the end of the year, hey, you're going to win 34 wins, but Wes White, Parker Ishii, Jackson Rayburn, Caleb Flint, and Braden Cooley are all not going to touch a ball throughout conference season and throughout the majority of the year, I think you'd have said, you're crazy, but I'll take it all day.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no doubt, and then not to use as an excuse or anything, and everybody's dealt with injuries, I'm sure. But it definitely kind of what could have been type of thing. But I don't think our guys hung their hat on that by any means or said, well, man, we'll chalk this one up to what could have been. They went out and did everything they could with what we had, and what we had was still good.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like there were some other guys, that stepped up, and there was more depth in the bullpen. But once again, that's I guess if I had to give us the coaching staff any credit, that's credit to us on the recruiting side and just making sure that hey, we have depth in the bullpen and we have some of the arms that we think can help us do what we want to do. So that is why you recruit, I guess, because hey, if a couple guys fall to the wayside, well, hey, we still have a good pitching staff and or just talent all over the place. We have depth at certain positions and making sure everything's covered there in case something does happen. So once again, just credit to our guys for sticking with it and playing their butts off.
Right. We say that, but again, it's like I told somebody else. I was talking with someone. I said, all that was missing, but the fact of the matter is next year when you come back, you're returning 11 wins from Jennings Kimbrell, 7 from Cohen Weinhofer, 5 from Cameron Patterson. That's 23 wins out of your 34 that you had right there. You and Coach Flesh and Coach Alley, y'all got some hard decisions to make next year. I'm glad I'm not in those shoes, but you also look at it. You've got Sam Cook who's moving on, but you look especially through conference play. Brady White was arguably one of the best players in conference play. I think hit well over 350 or right around 350 after kind of stumbling out of the gates offensively. You knew the arm talent and all the intangibles for a catcher were there. You just were waiting for that bat to finally show up, and when it did, it was really good for you. Yeah. You lose Tucker Jones. Unfortunately, 6'2" speed doesn't grow on trees, so that may be a really hard one to replace there. You say goodbye to Reese Thomas, who's been a stalwart either in center and right for you. So you got some guys you got to replace. Gavin Bledsoe as well was really good at first base. Maybe Bradley Hanlon slides back over to first, played really well there. Really did really well in left field as well for you too. Mm-hmm. The good news is you're losing some guys, but it feels like going into next year, maybe there's not as many holes to fill because you do have your second baseman coming back for another year. You've got arguably the best left side of the infield. I'd take Avery Griffin and Trey Davidson over anybody in the conference, and I think you would too, especially on a game day. So, you've got some holes to fill, but you really like what you've got coming back for next season.
Yeah, I think, you look around our conference, it seems like a lot of the teams that are successful are older teams, which makes sense. But I guess, not that you want nothing but sophomores because then it's a big turnaround. But which for us, we are going to have a sophomore heavy group next year. And still looking to add a couple pieces throughout the summer, whether that's transfers or whatever the case may be, we do have to continue to add some pieces, but we feel really, really good about what we have coming back. So I guess now I never wanted to look forward to next year at any point during our season because, hey, we're still playing games and who knows what can happen with this year. But kind of in the back of our heads, I think we know, hey, that next year can maybe be really special. Once again, there's a lot to There's still some guys that, like you said, moving on that, man, we're going to miss, from not only from a on-the-field standpoint, but the leadership that some of those guys brought, some of the sophomores and the maturity level and the work ethic, whether they were playing on the field or not for us, a lot of those guys showed some of the new guys how to do things at practice, how, what we expect as a coaching staff. How can you stay on I guess how can you say on the coach's good side? Just our expectations and our standard, they did a great job of leading some of our guys. Now those guys can just continue that trend, so it's not all about the on-the-field stuff that those sophomores brought. A lot of them brought a lot of success on the field, but the things that I think were able to teach some of the younger guys are going to those things are going to trend year after year after year because it's just going to be passed along. And that's how you build a culture and a program and things that we want to just be about. Whether we win or lose, let's be about toughness and playing hard and doing things just the right way. Whether it goes our way or not, let's do it the right way.
You'd be remiss if you didn't. The guys you're talking about, Judson Griffin, Dylan Wesson, D. Morgan, all guys who filled in gaps when you needed them to. D and Judson came out of the bullpen for you. D's last appearance, I don't think you could argue that it may have been his best one of the year. So that's something that you can look forward to. Judd had some really good appearances for you as well too this year. So it just stinks sometimes that you got to say goodbye to guys who are really good players after only having them for 2 years because you feel like maybe if you had them for another year, that growth will continue to go there. And some of those guys are going to go on. We know Reese and Judd are going to go play at Blue Mountain. We know Tucker's going to play at Delta State. We know Lucas Harrington, that's one we didn't mention, but he's done really well for you being a two-way player. He's going to go on to Northwestern State. Expecting big things out of all those guys at the next level. We've seen a lot of our guys who went on to the next level from last year have done some really good things. Shout out to Jordan McKenzie and Loyola going to the NAIA World Series for the first time ever. So, I know he's enjoying that. And we've been delighted to be able to share in that joy with them and post about those kind of things as well too. But now you mentioned a second ago, you turn your attention to the summer. You hit the transfer portal maybe to fill in some of those gaps. You also have some kids camp dates. I know those are coming soon. We'll have those for you. But I think some people think, hey, everything stops in the summer for coaches, and really for y'all, it really doesn't. You've got, I know here in Mississippi, you've got the state championships coming up. Mm-hmm. I know from a personal note, I know my alma mater, South Jones, is going to be over there for the first time in, I think, 41 years is what I heard someone say, which is just amazing. That's a great thing to see. So I know y'all probably get a chance to go over there, look at some guys. I know there's some summer games as well, too, travel ball, those kind of things. I know we host some teams as well, too, throughout the year. So, for people who think it stops during the summer, it really doesn't. It just kind of keeps going. Maybe not at the same pace, but it still keeps going for you.
Yeah, it does. There's a lot to do. Like you mentioned, summer, big-time recruiting, camps, keeping up with our current players that are playing summer ball and trying to better themselves and push those guys to come back better than ever. It never really stops, but it's what we signed up for, right? We know what it is, and we enjoy it. I mean, a lot of it doesn't feel like work. It just it's kind of a hobby, a little bit. So, and then facility upgrades and things that we want to try to do to continue to make our program better. Want to have things I want things to look a little differently than for our guys when they left in May. They come back in August, and it's like, okay, we got. Something looks a little different every time they come back to campus. So we'll try to do some things on that end. And, it's just a grind. You got to bring it every day. We ask our players to do that, and we try to do that as coaches of, just be productive today. Get something done and, make the most of it. So that's what we're trying to do, even though we'll enjoy some family time and some vacations and try to be normal people a little bit, I guess. But it's full-time job plus that.
Yeah. So again, never want to wish your life away, but I know from the broadcast perspective and from talking from some parents and those kind of things, like you even mentioned, it next year really has the makings to be a really special season in Co-Lin baseball. We look forward to it. The baseball team did end 2-2 in the region tournament, beat Jones, lost to East Central, beat Jones again, lost to East Central again. 4 really good games. They finished out the season 34-25, 16-12 in conference play. Amazing marks out of the baseball team, especially when you consider this was a program 4 years ago, 12 wins, your first year 15, last year 27, this year 34. Again, another mark that shows the program is moving in the right direction. So we'll give you the dates for kids camp and all the other camps that baseball is going to host on our socials.
Actually got those dates.
Do we have those?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and let them know.
June 23rd through the 25th.
23rd through the 25th.
It's a Monday through a Wednesday.
9 to noon or?
9 to 12:30.
9 to 12:30. So we'll get that information posted for you as soon as Coach gets us all of that. We'll have it all out there for you. People can get all that registration done and all that. Looking forward to that time. Looking forward to having all the kids here and just a good time. It's always fun when we get out there and be able to take some pictures and those kind of things and see that next generation of Co-Lin Wolves coming through. So again, lots of good things happening for baseball. Coach Chamblee, Coach Flessner, and Coach Sala get a little bit of time off, quote unquote. Coach Flessner will be a little bit busier than y'all. He'll be welcoming a new baby here any day now. So congratulations to Coach Flessner and his wife when that happens. But for now, that'll wrap up our coaches show this week. We'll have a final segment with our tennis coach, Coach Tripp Case, and with Coach Howard. Once we get back from the national tournament, that'll be all next week for softball, May 19th through the 24th. Their first game is on the 19th at 3 p.m. against Rock Valley. I'm Kevin Kyzar, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.